Rick Rude did not waste time playing nice. He left dudes seeing stars. But here's the kicker. The biggest backstage rumor about him, that he hated Ultimate Warrior, is mostly wrestling hearsay, not hard fact. For years, fans and shoot interview junkies have repeated the Rude knocked Warrior out because he hated him story like it's gospel. But the man himself? Rick never said a damn word about hating Warrior. Ultimate Warrior, in a rare shoot moment, said he liked Rick. Said working with him was a good experience because Rude was a professional. So that hate? Pure myth building. Sure, Rude punched Warrior after the guy worked stiff, like a guy snapping when the new kid won't stop hammering his head. But that was workplace discipline, not personal animosity. Behind the scenes, the myth's kept alive by secondhand storytellers. Bruce Pritchard, Ric Flair, Smash from Demolition. None of them heard it from Rude himself. That's wrestling telephone with a dirty line. We're here to crush myths, expose real heat, and dig into the beefs Rude actually carried. Rivalries that left bruises, lawsuits, and yes, even guns pulled. Ready for some real backstage carnage? Let's get ravishing. Everyone's heard it. Rick Rude decked Ultimate Warrior backstage because he hated the guy. The locker room legend that became YouTube lore repeated so often, it's now wrestling gospel. But here's the real backstage scoop. Rick Rude never said he hated Warrior. Not once. Ultimate Warrior? He's the rare wrestler who actually said, in a rare shoot moment, he liked Rick. Said working with Rude was a good experience because Rick was a professional. That's not exactly the language of someone who's hated or feared his partner backstage. What actually happened is far less Hollywood. Rude did punch Warrior, but not because of hate. Warrior was working stiff, hitting Rude too hard. Rude wasn't about to let some egotistical rookie or rising star make a habit of putting him on the floor, so he snapped. Slapped a workplace discipline punch hard enough to put Warrior out cold. Brutal? Yeah. Personal? Nah. The story got twisted by guys like Bruce Pritchard, Ric Flair, and Smash from Demolition, none of whom heard the truth directly from Rude himself. It became a convenient myth to explain why Rude hated Warrior, when really it was just one guy teaching another not to work like a maniac in the ring. So next time you hear Rude hated Warrior, remember, that's wrestling telephone with no real punchline. Oh yeah, and Bigfoot tags with Andre on weekends too. This is the tale that won't die. Supposedly, Rick Rude got so sick of Warrior's sloppy in-ring work that he knocked him out backstage like it was Mortal Kombat. One punch, lights out. Internet tough guys love this one. The only problem? There's no goddamn proof. No quote from Rude. No statement from Warrior. Not one legit first-hand source. Just a guy who knew a guy telling the same story from 5 bar stools down. Even Warrior, a guy who loved burying people once the face paint dried, actually said he enjoyed working with Rude. Called him a true pro and put over their feud like it was a highlight reel. Not exactly what you say about the guy who supposedly laid you out backstage like a sack of crap. And Rude? If he was mad enough to knock a guy out, he'd do it where everyone saw it. Ask Paul Orndorff, or Sting. Rude didn't hold grudges. He delivered them like packages, on camera, loudly, and with receipts. The fact this myth lives on says more about how desperate fans are for a tough guy fairy tale than it does about what actually happened. They want Rude to be this barroom enforcer who beat down the muscle-bound idiot. They want justice served with a six-pack and a fist, but what they don't want is, facts. This myth is less about Rude and Warrior, and more about a certain type of fan trying to rewrite history so it sounds like a Tarantino film. Newsflash, Warrior wasn't a great worker, sure, but Rude? He didn't waste his time knocking people out over it. He just wrestled circles around them and let the ring tell the story. If Rude ever actually knocked Warrior out, there'd be audio, video, a pay-per-view, and 5 t-shirts. But we got nothing. Just wrestling telephone. And it's out of service. Rude thought Warrior was unsafe and hated him for it. Oh, did he now? And I bet he wrote it in his Lisa Frank diary, right under, I hate Mondays and I wish Vince would call. This one's the classic fallback myth. When the knockout story falls apart and Warrior's actual praise for Rude shows up, the backup line is always, yeah, well, Rude still hated working with Warrior, thought he was dangerous. Let's break this down like grown-ups. Yes, Warrior was stiff. He worked like a cement mixer on fire. Nobody's pretending he was the second coming of Bret Hart. But here's the problem. Rude never said a damn word about it. Not once. Not in interviews, not in passing, not even in kayfabe-ridden promo land. The only people saying Rude thought Warrior was unsafe are YouTube comments, old message boards, and that one guy at the card shop who still wears jorts in 2025. If anything, all the documented evidence points the other way. These two didn't just have chemistry, they made money. Rude carried Warrior through some of his best matches, and Warrior openly admitted it. He said Rude helped him look like a star. Not nearly paralyzed him, not potatoed me through a wall. He said he appreciated the guy. And Rude? He was an absolute professional with guys he despised. Just ask Jake Roberts or Sting. If he had a problem with Warrior, you'd have seen it in the ring. You'd have seen receipts, sandbags, maybe even a German suplex off the Earth's axis. But instead, smooth matches, tight timing, and zero shoot shade. The truth is simple. This myth is just a fancy way to say, I didn't like Warrior, and I want Rude to agree with me. Tough break. Rude was too busy making cash and clocking out to whine about bumps backstage. He had a mustache to maintain. Let's get this fantasy out of the locker room. Rude did not go full Mafia hitman after WrestleMania 5. He didn't chase Warrior with a crowbar. He didn't threaten to break Warrior's neck, and he definitely didn't stomp into Vince's office yelling, "That jacked up clown potato sacked me and now I want blood." That's all internet fan fiction dressed up like shoot gospel. Here's what actually happened. Warrior botched a couple spots during their match. Rude? Yeah, he was annoyed. That's it. He didn't throw hands. He didn't walk out. He came back the next night and kept doing business. Why? Because unlike Warrior, Rick Rude knew how to finish a fucking match without crying about it. This myth grew legs, thanks to, I heard it from a guy who knew a guy who worked security near the curtain. You know, the kind of high-grade bullshit that gets passed around bar stools and blown up in YouTube thumbnails like, exclusive, Rick Rude snaps and shoots on Ultimate Warrior. Even Bobby Heenan, who was practically married to Rude on screen, never once confirmed this so-called meltdown. And Warrior? Years later, when he was torching everybody from Hogan to Patterson, still didn't say Rude was a problem. He even said their matches were some of the only times he felt like he got better. That's like Warrior admitting vegetables aren't poison. This wasn't heat. It was mild workplace friction. Two overhyped egos flexing over blown spots and stiff bumps. If Rude had hated Warrior that much, he wouldn't have gone back to the well with him over and over in 89 and 90, making Warrior look like a damn action figure come to life. This myth exists for one reason. People love drama, especially if it involves imaginary locker room murder plots. But in reality, Rude handled Warrior the same way most veterans did, with rolled eyes, tight chin locks, and a sigh that said, "I'm bumping for this neon scarecrow again." That's not hate, that's just work. Rick didn't shoot on Warrior post-match. No evidence of a violent outburst. Just stiff shots, business as usual. Want blood and chaos? Go watch Haku in a bar fight. This wasn't that. This was two bodybuilders sweating through spandex and pretending to hate each other while cashing checks. This one's got more hot air than a Warrior promo. And just like those, it never made any damn sense. The myth goes that Rick Rude couldn't stand Warrior's personality, that he badmouthed him constantly, that he told the boys Warrior was selfish, dangerous, and just one protein shake away from full sociopath. Sounds juicy, right? Except there's just one small issue. Rick Rude never said a single fucking word about Warrior like that. Not once. You know who did? Everybody else. Go back and listen to the shoot interviews. Bret Hart trashed Warrior. Bulldog rolled his eyes. Heenan made jokes about his intelligence. Hell, even Mean Gene sounded like he wanted to throw a shoe at him by 91. But Rude? Not a peep. What is on the record is this. Rude told multiple people that he respected Warrior's work ethic, that Warrior was difficult, sure, but difficult in the way most overhyped main eventers were. Loud, clueless, full of themselves. Not a criminal, not a cancer, just Warrior. In fact, Warrior once said in a shoot that Rude was one of the only guys who treated him like a peer during that late 80s rocket ride. He even said, and you might want to sit down for this, that he liked Rick Rude. You know, in Warrior language, that's basically, I'd share my tassels with the guy. This myth didn't come from truth. It came from lazy assumptions. Rude was a classic, don't sell it, don't say it guy. If he hated you, you'd feel it. Ask Jake Roberts. Ask the mirror in his hotel room. But Warrior? Nope, nothing. The truth is brutal. Wrestling fans created this beef in their heads because they wanted it to be real. They wanted two jacked up maniacs clawing at each other backstage. What they got instead? A stiff working relationship that made both men money and ended with Rude saying absolutely fuck all. That's not hate, that's silence. And silence, in wrestling, that's damn near respect. 1. Rude never trashed Warrior. 2. No record of heat, just hearsay from third-party nobodies. And 3. Warrior actually liked him. End of story, roll the credits. Rude and Warrior was all angle, no animosity. This feud belongs in the bin with Warrior's comic books and the idea that he could wrestle. Let's put this to bed like Warrior putting on a headlock. Awkward, slow, and over way too fast. Rick Rude didn't hate Warrior. Not secretly, not loudly, not even a little bit. What we had was a rare case of two steroid-era juggernauts sharing the same ring without one of them trying to swing a chair backstage. No stiff receipts, no locker room screaming, no call the agents drama. And if that disappoints you, good. Welcome to adulthood. Because here's the truth nobody wants. Wrestlers didn't all hate each other just because they main evented. Sometimes it was just a paycheck and a plane ride. And that was Rude versus Warrior. A weird, lucrative dance between a guy with unmatched psychology and a guy who thought tassels were an offensive strategy. And let's be honest, if Rude had hated Warrior, we wouldn't be guessing. Rude didn't whisper. He didn't hint. If he thought you were trash, he'd make you eat your push and throw up your gimmick. Just ask the Clique. Ask Shawn Michaels. Ask any hotel mirror from 1988 to 1993. But Warrior? He got silence. And in wrestling, silence from Rick Rude was the closest thing to a handshake you were going to get. So kill the myth. Shove it in a body bag. Then suplex that body bag off the nearest scaffold. No heat, no hate. Just one guy trying to wrestle and another trying not to get concussed by a dude doing jumping jacks and face paint. Subscribe like Warrior running the ropes, completely wrong but full of conviction. Smash that like button like Rude smashing his fists into logic. And if you stuck around this long, you deserve a pair of airbrushed tights and a half-empty bottle of Old Spice. See you in the next myth-busting beatdown. Thanks for watching.